Stephen Maijoor, the chairman of ESMA. Mr. Maijoor, great to have you on the show. Could you start by telling me what you're hoping this ban will achieve?
Well, what we have seen in the past weeks is, of course, a development in the financial markets where they're reacting to new economic outlooks. However, what we've seen in the past days was, in some countries, very volatile trading and also rumors, and that was the reason to get together as ESMA and coordinate the measures regarding short selling and net positions in those 4 countries.
Okay, and how long will the ban be in place?
That is in principle for those 4 countries, and we will continue our discussions with those 4 countries and monitor the situation. But you should realize that in essence this is a national decision of those 4 countries. There's no European regulation in place which allows us to do that as ESMA. So our role is here coordination.
What would happen, or what do you fear would happen, if this ban hadn't been imposed?
Well, we've been always clear as ESMA that, in principle, short selling can be a valid trading strategy. However, when it's combined with spreading false rumors, it can have an abusive element, obviously, and that was the reason for installing the ban in these countries.
I mean, I guess there are many people making the point that the markets should be allowed to function with complete freedom and transparency, and that these sort of restrictions shouldn't be in place because actually at the end of the day they can end up being more counterproductive than anything else.
Well, it's as I just said, ESMA is of the view that in principle short selling can be a valid trading strategy. Just like in the cash market, what we can see is that sometimes there are parties spreading rumors, and that is the case where we need to act and intervene, and so that is also in this case the situation.
But if we
so, in principle, indeed, we rely on markets, but we also know that in some cases there can be abusive market practices.
I understand the principle, but do you think there is a risk of this not being very effective in practice? Because evidence from the 2008 short-selling ban shows that it had no effect, that it didn't work in reversing the downward trend in financial shares.
Well, the point you're making underlines how important it is that we, as soon as possible at a European level, have a short-selling regulation. We have to work now in a situation where we don't have this regulation and are limited in our powers and the possibilities to coordinate.
Is there also a risk of sending the wrong signal to the market? Are you concerned that perhaps it may lead many traders and investors to think something is very wrong here for the European regulators to now be panicking in this way? And could that actually reinforce the negative sentiment?
Well, I think as we have announced, it is limited to a number of countries. We have seen in some of these countries very volatile trading. We have also seen rumors, specifically in the case of France, and I think it's valid that they have implemented the ban in this case.
As you say, it is limited to 4 countries. Was there a push for more of a broader EU-wide ban?
Well, I think I should explain. It's not a 0 or 1 situation, because in many countries there's this disclosure requirement where short positions have to be reported to the regulators, and if they're going over certain thresholds, also to the public. So in most countries there is a regime in place, but they vary in terms of their characteristics.
But would a broader ban that wasn't just restricted to the 4 countries have been a little bit more practical, perhaps even more effective?
Well, I think you have to look at a case-by-case cases, and the information that we have gathered is that in other countries the markets were functioning well on this point, and say they didn't see a need to go further with these bans and these measures. But of course that might change depending on what happens in the market.
And will regulators help French, Belgians, Spanish and Italians enforce the bans outside of their borders? So, for example, potentially preventing the shorting of SocGen shares in, say, UK-based trading?
Well, you can be assured that we are on a day-to-day basis in contact with each other, and we're trying to get the maximum out of these measures.
Stephen Maijoor of ESMA, thank you very much.